Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk to you about the season finale of The Last of Us. It was called Look for the Light. As the episode starts, we find ourselves in a flashback of Ellie's mother, Anna, played by the voice actress who did Ellie in the game, running through the woods, apparently in labor. She comes to what looks like an abandoned house, where it would seem she expected some other people to be, though they now appear to have gone or never having gotten there. After she locks herself in an upstairs room and is about to give birth, she hears an infected breaking into the house. It then finds her and breaks through the door that she had braced closed with a chair and attacks her, but she kills it with a knife just before giving birth to Ellie. And then we see that she was in fact bitten by the attacking infected person on the leg. After nightfall, the fireflies, including Marlene, approach the same house with flashlights. They find Anna, and after they tell her that they're late because they got delayed getting out of the QZ they were in, Anna lies and says that she cut the umbilical cord before she was bitten, before giving Ellie to them, telling them to give her the knife when she's old enough, and that they should then put her out of her misery, which Marlene at first declines to do, but then does. We then join Joel and Ellie in the present on the road, making their way towards the hospital where the fireflies are, as Joel shows Ellie that he found a can of beefaroni and a boggle game. Joel then says he might try to find a guitar in working order after coming across one that wasn't, because he hasn't played in a long time, and then he suggests that he might teach Ellie to play. As they're making their way through a building, they reenact a mechanic from the game, wherein Joel boosts Ellie up to a higher floor so she can send down a ladder for him to climb up. And it was pretty cool because you do that a million times in the game. Through these whole opening moments of the show, you can see that both their demeanors have flip-flopped since last episode. Joel is light and airy and jocular, and Ellie is quiet and aloof, having just gone through that crazy situation where she was almost made into food.
Ow.
At least that's the case with her until she spots something a few flights up in the building, which turns out to be a giraffe eating from the overgrowth on the outside of the building through a giant hole in the wall. Ellie, of course, is just transfixed by this and elated, and she feeds the giraffe by hand from some of the overgrowth on the side of the building. And then when she and Joel both get a little higher up in the building in order to follow the giraffe after it moves away from the hole in the wall, they can see from an overlook that there are a number of giraffes walking around in what looks like a baseball field. Joel tells Ellie that she doesn't have to go through with what they've started if she doesn't want to, that they can just go back to Tommy's. But she says after everything she and they have been through, it can't have been for nothing and they have to proceed. She tells him that when they're done doing what they need to do, they can go anywhere he wants and that she'll follow him anywhere. As they then walk through an army medical camp from the early days of the pandemic, Joel explains why he had ended up spending some time in one, which is that the scar on his head, which he said he got from someone else shooting at him and missing, was actually from him trying to kill himself and missing after Sarah's death. After concluding that he's better now than he was then, Ellie says, well, I guess time heals all wounds. And he says, no, it wasn't time that did it. And she understands that he means she helped him heal his wounds from the past. She then says she's glad that his attempt didn't work out, and he says that he is as well. As they're walking along and Ellie is reading to Joel from the pun book because he said he was in the mood for some puns, someone ambushes them with a smoke grenade and takes Ellie away after knocking Joel out. Joel wakes up in a firefly facility and finds Marlene there, and after saying that she owes Joel for getting Ellie there, he asks to see Ellie, and Marlene says he can't because she's in surgery, so that they can remove the quadriceps from her brain in order to make a cure, which is news that Joel didn't take well. Marlene then has him taken to the middle of town and left there with his pack and a knife, or at least that's what she instructed her men to do. But as they're walking Joel down some stairs, he overtakes the two guys that were escorting him and kills them with their own guns. He then goes looking for Ellie, engaging in shootouts with the fireflies on the way, and even kills one unarmed guy who surrendered. And he just keeps going, killing people along the way with an automatic rifle. He makes it to an already anesthetized Ellie, And when the doctor refuses to unhook her from all the medical devices, he shoots him in the head and orders the remaining medical personnel to unhook her, which they do, after which he scoops her up and carries her away. As he's making his way out with her, Marlene confronts him at gunpoint. She tells him that he won't be able to protect her forever and that he should have left it for Ellie to decide what she wanted to do instead of making the decision for her, as well as that it's not too late because they could still find a way to use her to make a cure. But Joel kills her, even though she begs for her life, because he knows that she'll just come after Ellie. When Ellie wakes up in the car that they've stolen, Joel lies to her and says that the doctors ran tests on her and some other people as well and figured out that she's not the only immune person. And he tells her that they're not looking for a cure anymore. And when she asks where her clothes are, he says that raiders attacked the hospital and he barely got her out of there. And then he doesn't answer when she asks if Marlene is okay. The car that he stole then conks out, so they start hiking the rest of the way. As they're talking, Ellie explains that after she and Riley got bitten and Riley began to turn, she was the one that had to kill her because she had told him early on in the season that killing that guy that was about to kill Joel wasn't the first person she killed. She asked Joel to swear that everything he told her about the fireflies is true because even though she doesn't say so, she needs it to be, given that she was committed to helping the fireflies find a cure, and given that she doubts that Joel was telling the truth, because she knows it's possible that he would have stopped them from doing whatever it was they were doing if it meant her death, which, for all she knows, might have been the case. And he swears that it is true, at which point she says okay, despite seeming not to believe him. And that's where the season ended. So I thought this was a fantastic episode, a fantastic season finale. It followed the course of the game and perfectly set up the second season, which, of course, is going to be adopted from the second game. I think what people should be taking from this finale and from the season as a whole is that this show is very, very faithful to the game, which itself was really a movie about these two characters and their relationship and how it changed both of them after finding each of them where in their lives it found them. And the whole bit about the infected is just a storytelling catalyst. It's not the story. And in the game, because the player needs something to do to make it a game instead of a computer generated movie, there are a whole lot of action sequences where you're fighting either people or infected people. And while some folks might be tempted to find fault with the show because there isn't a lot of that in the show, especially there isn't a lot of infected action, I don't think they should find fault with the show for that. Because no matter what they thought it was being sold to them as, no matter what they were expecting, especially if they hadn't played the game, the point of the show, as was the point of the game, is to tell a human story, a story about the human condition, a story about love and loss and how both of those things affect people and how both of those things can make people do things that are both very kind and very evil in service of that love, especially in the context of someone who's also experienced great loss, and how those things can affect the people that you love, both positively and negatively. And it's stories like this that are always the best stories, that show us all who we are and who we can be or who we can become, and that there is a light and a dark side to all of us, and a light and a dark side to love. And it's also about perseverance and the human spirit. And just as the game showcases all of those things excellently and makes us aware of them and makes us feel them and makes us think about them, the show does likewise brilliantly. And this episode was a prime example of that, as have other episodes in this season been. So I loved the season. I loved the episode, and I think that Peter Pascal and Bella Ramsey did a more than amazing job of playing these characters and conveying those emotions and showing us exactly what we needed to be shown for this story to be the story that it is. And they totally lived up to the characters in the game and the writing of the game. And a lot of that is due to the fact that Neil Druckmann, wrote the show. So I think they deserve top Emmys for their performances. The writers deserve top Emmys, everything. The show was great. And I couldn't have asked for more in terms of bringing a game that I absolutely loved, that is absolutely fantastic, to life in a show. It was just excellent. And that's really all I have to say. I, of course, will be reviewing season two once it is released, which for me can't be soon enough. For now, I'm going to get out of here. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.